Have you ever noticed how some people can move on effortlessly, while others stay trapped in the same pain for years? It's not because life treats them differently, it's because one of them has learned the secret that October whispers every year. When you stop holding on, life starts moving again. What if the reason you feel stuck right now isn't because you've lost something, but because you refuse to let go of what's already gone? Stay with me, because once you understand why the mind clings, you'll never see endings the same way again. Letting go is not a sign of defeat. It is an act of maturity, a recognition that what we cling to is often the very thing that holds us back from evolving. When you look at nature, you'll notice something profound. Nothing resists change. The tree does not argue with the wind when it takes its leaves. It simply allows. It trusts the process that has shaped its existence for thousands of years. But we, as human beings, have forgotten this trust. We have built our lives around control, controlling our emotions, our outcomes, even the people around us. And when something begins to slip away, we panic, we chase, we fight, we beg. Yet deep inside, a small voice always knows this is the moment to release. Letting go is not losing something. It's clearing the path for what is next. When we release the old, we create the space necessary for the new to arrive. Think about it. How can your hands grasp something new if they are still tightly holding what has already ended? Psychologically, this process of letting go is an act of self-liberation. You begin to detach from the illusion that your worth depends on what stays with you. Relationships, success, identities, these are chapters, not definitions. When one closes, it doesn't mean your story has ended. It means you have reached a point where new meaning is ready to unfold. Philosophically, letting go teaches the essence of impermanence, that everything in life is temporary, and that temporary does not mean meaningless. The leaf that falls is not wasted. It becomes nourishment for the soil. What you release today may become the foundation of your next season of growth. So, if life is asking you to let go right now of a person, a dream, or an expectation, understand this: it is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being shaped for what you cannot yet see, and the sooner you accept this truth, the lighter you will feel, the clearer you will think, and the freer you will become. Because in the end, growth doesn't come from holding on tighter. It begins the moment you finally let go. Every burden you carry is invisible weight. You might not see it, but you feel it in your shoulders, in your breath, in the quiet tension that never leaves your chest. These burdens often come disguised as responsibilities, regrets, or memories that refuse to fade. We tell ourselves we are being strong by holding on, but true strength often lies in the courage to release what no longer serves our growth. Think of how a tree stands when it's covered in too many leaves. The branches bend, heavy under their own creation. But once those leaves fall, the tree breathes again. It becomes lighter, clearer, more aligned with the wind. The same happens within us. Every emotion we cling to, anger, guilt, resentment, consumes energy that could have been used for creativity, healing, or joy. Psychologically, when you hold on to pain, you are not protecting yourself. You are preserving the wound. The mind has a strange way of mistaking familiarity for safety. It will keep replaying an old hurt, not because it wants to suffer, but because it fears what life might look like without it. But healing requires discomfort. Growth requires release. When you choose to let go of the stories that no longer define you, you begin to rediscover the person you were meant to be before the weight of the world shaped you. Philosophically, every burden you carry blocks the sunlight of awareness. It clouds your perception, making it harder to see beauty in simple things. You stop noticing the warmth of the present moment because your attention is trapped in the gravity of the past. But once you put that burden down, even for a moment, the light returns. You feel it in your posture, in your breath, in the way your thoughts begin to quiet. So ask yourself honestly, what are you still carrying that is too heavy for this stage of your life? Perhaps it once served a purpose, but now it only limits your movement. The truth is simple yet profound. Life will never take from you what you are truly meant to keep. The rest you must be brave enough to release, because sometimes the most powerful act of strength is not endurance. It is the quiet decision to finally put the weight down. October is a month of balance, standing between warmth and cold, life and rest, motion and stillness. It does not rush to hold on to summer, nor does it hurry into winter. It simply exists in transition. And that is the lesson most of us forget. Not every phase of life demands movement. Some seasons are meant for stillness, for recalibration, for simply breathing in the space between what was and what will be. We live in a world obsessed with speed. We are taught that progress means constant motion, to always be striving, achieving, doing. But nature doesn't operate that way. The rhythm of life is not a straight line, it's a cycle. There is a time to grow and a time to rest, a time to speak and a time to listen, a time to act and a time to simply observe. When we resist these natural pauses, we create internal conflict. We begin to believe that slowing down means failure, when in truth, it often means wisdom. Psychologically, balance is the foundation of resilience. When you live in extremes, constantly chasing, constantly reacting, your energy becomes fractured. The mind grows restless and the body follows. But when you allow yourself to pause, even briefly, you realign with your center. You begin to see that peace is not found in doing more, but in understanding when enough is enough. Philosophically, balance teaches humility. It reminds you that not every storm needs to be fought, and not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes, the greatest progress happens when you stop interfering and let life unfold at its natural pace. This is where growth takes root, in acceptance, not resistance. October embodies this wisdom perfectly. It teaches that it's okay to not have all the answers yet. It's okay to be in transition, to be between chapters, to not know what's next. Because the space between is not emptiness, it's preparation. It's where your roots deepen quietly before the next season of expansion begins. So if life feels uncertain right now, don't rush the process. Find your still point in the in-between. Because balance is not about standing still. It's about learning how to move gracefully through change. Letting go requires faith, not the kind that blindly believes, but the kind that quietly trusts. Trust in the unseen, trust in timing, trust in the intelligence of life itself. Every time you let go of something familiar, you step into uncertainty. And that uncertainty often feels uncomfortable because the mind craves control. It wants to know what will happen next. It wants guarantees. It wants safety. But growth does not exist within the comfort of certainty. It happens in the space where faith replaces fear. When you release your grip on how things should be, you begin to open yourself to what could be. That is the paradox of surrender. The moment you stop forcing outcomes, life begins to move again. You stop swimming against the current and start flowing with it. There's an inner wisdom that begins to guide you, something beyond logic, something intuitive and deeply connected to the rhythm of existence. Psychologically, this act of trust reshapes the mind. It breaks the illusion that control equals safety. In reality, control is often a mask for fear, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. When you loosen that grip, you invite peace into your life. You stop reacting and start responding. You begin to see that even when things fall apart, they are often falling into place in ways you cannot yet understand. Philosophically, faith is not passive. It is an active decision to align yourself with the flow of life. It is saying, I do not need to understand everything right now, but I will keep walking. It's choosing movement over paralysis, openness over resistance. And this is what separates those who merely exist from those who evolve. Think of a leaf falling from a tree. It doesn't know where the wind will take it, yet it does not fight the air. It trusts the invisible hands of the season that carries it forward. That is the kind of faith October calls for: the courage to release without knowing the outcome, the calm to trust that letting go will not lead to loss, but to transformation. Because in the end, faith is not believing that everything will stay the same. It's knowing you will be okay, even when everything changes. ChatGPT said, nature is not something outside of us. It is a mirror of what lives within. Every season that unfolds around you is a reflection of your own internal cycles. Spring mirrors your beginnings, summer your expansion, autumn your release, and winter your reflection. When you begin to see life through this rhythm, you stop fighting change and start flowing with it. You realize that what happens in the world around you is not separate from what happens inside you. October, especially, is a teacher of this truth. Look closely at how the trees surrender their leaves. They do not mourn what falls. They do not rush to regrow. They simply trust the process. In that same way, your life is constantly inviting you to release old patterns, beliefs, and identities that no longer serve who you are becoming. But most people resist because they think change means losing themselves. In reality, it means meeting themselves on a deeper level. Psychologically, this awareness bridges the gap between nature and self. The more you align with nature's cycles, the less pressure you feel to always be productive, perfect, or complete. You start to understand that rest is not failure and stillness is not stagnation. Like nature, your growth also happens beneath the surface, silently, invisibly, patiently. There are seasons in your life when nothing seems to move, yet deep inside, transformation is taking place. Philosophically, this connection with nature brings humility. It reminds you that you are part of something far greater than your individual story. Just as the tree does not question the storm or the cold, you too can learn to trust the timing of your own seasons. The universe does not rush your becoming. It unfolds you moment by moment, experience by experience, lesson by lesson. When you start to live with that awareness, anxiety begins to dissolve. You no longer demand instant answers or immediate results. You begin to see that even in your moments of loss or confusion, life is working for you, not against you. So the next time you walk outside and see the leaves fall, don't just see the season changing, see yourself reflected in that cycle. Because nature is not a distant teacher. It is your oldest mirror. And when you learn to see yourself in nature, you finally remember how to live in harmony with life itself. If you listen closely in October, you'll notice something beyond the beauty of its colors, a quiet message carried by the wind. It whispers the same truth that nature has been teaching for centuries: release, trust, evolve. Every falling leaf, every shift in the air, every fading sunset speaks this wisdom. Life is not asking you to hold on. It is asking you to let go gracefully, to trust what's leaving, and to have faith in what's arriving. Most people fear change because they mistake it for loss. But change is the language through which life renews itself. When something leaves your life, a relationship, a season, a version of yourself, it's not vanishing into emptiness. It's making space for what you've grown ready to receive. October teaches us that endings are not punishments. They are transitions. They cleanse the ground so that new life can take root. Psychologically, this act of release is essential to evolution. The human mind loves patterns. It wants to repeat what feels familiar, even when it hurts, simply because it knows how to survive there. But growth demands a different kind of intelligence, the courage to unlearn, to step beyond the old mental habits that keep you small. When you release what no longer serves you, you begin to see how much of your suffering came not from life itself, but from your refusal to let life move through you. Philosophically, evolution is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to your natural state, free, adaptable, in rhythm with change. You were never meant to stay fixed. The seasons do not apologize for shifting, and neither should you. The tree does not cling to its last leaf out of fear of winter. It trusts that spring will return. So when October comes, let it be your reminder. Let it teach you to loosen your grip on what has already fulfilled its purpose. Allow life to take what it must, so it can give you what's next. Because the truth is simple, nothing you are meant to keep will ever require you to hold on so tightly. And sometimes, the most beautiful transformation begins the moment you dare to release what's already gone.